Marty Friedman is a guitar genius, but not for the reason you may think. So let's see how breaking the rules sets him apart from the other metal players and how you can bring this home to your own playing. Let's go. So why is Marty so unique? Before writing this video, I thought I knew what made him so special. I would have said tension. Most people say that his unique bends or the use of Japanese scale is what makes him special. But the tension he puts in those bends is why they're so unique. Now, he does this through his entire playing, not just bends. He plays unexpected notes, and that's what builds tension. Which is how I finally noticed what it's really about. It's not so much how he builds tension, it's why. Marty doesn't want to be predictable. And that is the driving force to his uniqueness. And of course, I have specific examples for you to take home and practice on your own, right? But I want you to keep that in mind throughout this whole video. The key to Marty's uniqueness is his relentless effort to distance himself from the rest of the crowd. So don't just learn a bunch of cool Marty Friedman licks. If you understand, if you analyze what makes these licks stand out, you'll be able to bring this home and make your playing unpredictable too. Most of his best licks, they come from playing the wrong notes. Notes that are not in the scale, not in the triad. So let's see how he does that, and we can steal out of it so we get better. I want to start with bends because they show this concept of building tension in the simplest way, then we can build up from that to more complex ideas later. Let's start with this lick in C minor. Most people would bend from the 2. Now Marty could go about this in a few ways. First, he could bend from a non-scale note, like this flat 2, for example. It's not in the scale. So when that flat 2 lands, it sounds pretty harsh. But then we bend to the minor third, and then everything is right again. Another thing he does a lot would be bending from that regular 2, but then dropping just slightly, maybe a quarter tone, and build a lot of tension before going back to that third. You know, dropping a quarter tone means we're sitting right between that second and that minor third. It is tense. Another thing he does a lot is slow bends. Bends a lot slower than most people would be comfortable doing. Even when bending from this regular 2, it's bending so slow that we're spending a lot of time in that quarter tone, right? It's building a lot of tension. Now, you would also do it from the flat 2. So slow bend from the flat 2 is going to create a ton of tension. Bonus tips: if your vibrato stays below the pitch you're targeting, it builds a lot of tension. Guys like Zakk Wylde would have a very wild vibrato that goes over and under the pitch. That kind of vibrato adds a lot of energy and excitement. And I'm not saying Marty never does that, but if you listen, you'll see that he does a lot of vibrato under the pitch, right? So you never go above the pitch. It's got this sorrowful kind of vibe. Playing the wrong notes and how Marty doesn't care if they're in the scale or not. I remember an old Marty Friedman interview where he said that whenever he hears a D minor chord, he likes to play that shape, right? Minor third, 5th, and major 6th. And he'll play it whether it's in the scale or not. He doesn't care. This major 6 would imply the Dorian D minor from the A minor scale. But in both the D minor and G minor scale, the D minor chord would have a flat 6. So that shape would be wrong, technically. But it doesn't matter to Marty Friedman if you think it's the wrong shape. He likes the sound of it, and that's all that matters. And I'm telling you right now, the nerds are going to be pissed in the comment section. A lot of what people call exotic in his playing is just playing the wrong notes in a context that this note doesn't belong there. We're not expecting these notes, so they sound exotic. Now, I'm not saying that he'll never plug Japanese pentatonic scale once in a while. He does. But not as much as people think. Because if you read Reddit, everybody that doesn't understand what Marty's doing, they just say, it's Japanese scale. Not always. So remember, every time you're playing over a minor chord, if you find the minor third, you can play this shape, minor third, fifth, and major sixth, all over the neck. Doesn't matter if it's in the scale or not, probably will sound very cool. If it's a major chord, you can do the same thing. You can play 3 and 5 and try to sharpen that 6 just for fun. It gives it a diminished triad sound. Now, is it a sharp 6 or a flat 7? Is it important? No, it's not important. You think Marty cares about that? No, he doesn't. What matters is that you can see this shape and you can link this shape in your head with a sound and a vibe so that you're able to bring that up whenever you're playing. Playing guitar is not about your ability to talk about theory, right? It's about what you can do with your instrument. I know it sounds obvious, but you would be surprised how many people I've seen brag about their theory knowledge, but then you hear them play their instrument and their talent doesn't match their ego, which is never a good thing, by the way. Ego. I've never seen any of my favorite players, Marty, Guthrie Govan, Steve Vai, Tim Henson, talk down to lower skilled player, right? Never. They wouldn't be my favorite if they did. Rent over. You can use this concept of playing the wrong notes anywhere. Let's take these basic pentatonic lick, for example. Well, that is boring. So Marty Friedman will often spice up cliche licks like this by adding a note that shouldn't be there and doubling down on it. Let's take, for example, this major 7 that's not in the pentatonic scale, and it gives it a very harmonic minor sound. Or we could do the same with the major 3rd instead, and now it sounds like the Mixolydian mode. Now we can really play outside here if we want by adding the flat 2 in there, and suddenly we get a Phrygian dominant vibe. You see, there's a context in which every note can have its place, right? To practice this stuff, I advise you get a 1 or 2 chord backing track and just go to town with this. All of your favorite Marty Friedman solos. Dragon's Kiss, Tornado, Lucretia, Symphony of Destruction, The Killing Road, my favorite. They all start with a strong, singable melody. That's because Marty doesn't want to be a great guitar player. He wants to be a great musician. He even said many times he's not even that much into guitar music, which for us guitar nerd is weird, right? Because we're neck deep in this shit. Now this vocal-like style doesn't come naturally to most of us because we spend most of our time playing guitar licks. So that's what we end up sounding like. So first I suggest you learn at least the beginning of all of these solos that I mentioned. Most of them you could play with just one finger, right? So they're not that hard. If you really want to get good at this, start playing along with famous pop songs, right? Madonna, Michael Jackson. Yes, I'm old. I don't know what kids listen to these days. Imagine Dragon, Fall Out Boy, anything with catchy melodies. Learning those will put you in the right mindset to start doing these vocal-like lines. Marty is extremely good at playing these traditional Japanese vocal-like melodies. And considering what we just talked about, it shouldn't be surprising at all. Triad Substitution. I've said this many times in past videos. If the rhythm section is playing an E minor chord and you're playing E minor triad or arpeggio, you guys are both playing the same thing. I mean, that E minor triad, it sounds great. I mean, it fits right in there, but it doesn't add anything. Now, jazz and fusion player, they've been using triad or arpeggios superimposition, it's a very fancy word, basically meaning they play another triad or arpeggio over that chord. So let's say we're still over that E minor chord. Jazz fusion player could play a G major 7 arpeggio. G major is the third of E minor. Doesn't have to be the third, but it's a safe choice because 2 out of these 4 notes in that G major 7 arpeggio, they're already in that E minor chord, G and B. Now, I don't think Marty uses an approach that is that cerebral. He's much more of a feel and played by ear kind of guy. Although, I've always had a feeling that maybe he knows more theory than he pretends, but we'll never know for sure. So he'll sometimes start playing this F sharp minor triad, then quickly plug the F sharp major arpeggio before going back to that F sharp minor. And everybody's screaming, "Oh my God, it's so exotic. It has to be that secret Japanese scale, right?" No, it's not. It's just a major third over a minor chord. You could also link this major arpeggio with a diminished triad, like this D, leading to this shape. That flat 7 already adds tension, like we're in Mixolydian. Push this even further with the diminished shape. Now that flat 2 makes it sound Phrygian dominant, right? That's a lot of flavor for just one chord. And who knows, we think there's a master plan behind this, or maybe Marty started playing an F sharp minor chord, and then by mistake played a F sharp major chord, triad over this, and said, you know what, I kind of like it. Whether that's what happens or not is completely irrelevant. The point I want to make here is that good things happen when you ditch the rule book and start trusting your ear. Breaking down arpeggios. Marty is not impressed by long strings of 2-3 octaves arpeggios. Why? Because they're predictable. If I start playing this E minor triad, where do you think I'm going? I'm playing the same 3 notes all over the place, right? It's boring, it's predictable. I'm 39, and I can tell you right now, that used to be impressive, but it got boring a very long time ago, right? Even if I hear this being played at speed I could only dream of, it's boring. Now we've seen how Marty uses other triads to break down the boring flows of arpeggios, but he has other ways to do this, even without changing the arpeggio. First off, rarely have I seen him play more than 4 notes of an arpeggio before breaking down the pattern. Instead of playing this 2-octave C arpeggio in one go, he could link these 2 triads, which are the same but on 2 different octaves, sliding on the 3rd, leading to the lower shape. This is as straightforward as you'll ever hear him. Now, he could also break this down in groups of 4. Sticking with this same shape, we can introduce the flat 7 in the middle to break the chain and spice things up. But I don't think that Marty voluntarily plays this as a flat 7. I think he sees the shape and the symmetries and he just goes for it. Knowing your 2-string triad shapes and their 2 inversions on the same strings will help you a lot play these arpeggios in a more horizontal way. And that is really key for Marty's playing here because it makes it really simple and intuitive almost to break the chains of these arpeggios. I've been analyzing his playing for a while now, and I think it's a blend of very solid foundational theory and fearless exploration. When you start to go for it and stop thinking as much, cool things happen. Yes, you'll play stuff you hate, but you also end up with very, very cool ideas. You would have not come up with it otherwise. And before you know, you'll have a fat stack of cool licks idea and your pal, they're still gonna be playing Johnny Be Good. I mean, it's cool. It's not spicy. Grab a 1 or 2 chords backing track and just go to town with this stuff. Guys, I appreciate you watching the whole thing till the end. Cheers.